Today's Thursday, October 18th, and we are going to talk about Eureka Math, Lesson 2.9, Module 2, Lesson 9. And today is kind of just taking everything you know about standard algorithm and multiplying numbers, and then using that to solve multi-step word problems. Word problems means it's just a math problem in the context of a real-world situation, so you have to understand what the words mean. And then multi-step means there's going to be more than one step. Just because there's more than one step, does that mean it's hard? No, it's just more stuff for you to keep track of and more opportunities to be careful, okay? Let's talk about the problem of the day. Now, this is a word problem, isn't it? Okay, so whenever you're doing word problems, the most important thing you can do is to understand what the problem means. Because if you don't understand what the problem's even asking or what the words mean, it's really hard to make sure you're doing correct math. Sometimes you might get lucky just by plugging some numbers in and multiplying or dividing or subtracting, but that's not really understanding the problem. So let's try this for an example. So it's an office space in New York City, measures 48 feet by 56 feet. If it sells for $565 per square foot, what is the total cost of the office space? Okay, what is the question asking us to figure out? Raj?
What is the total cost of the office space?
Very good. Whenever you're doing a math test, let me back up. Whenever you're doing a problem of the day, you write down step one and then you write out the question, yes? But if the question is printed in front of you, like in a workbook or on a math test, you don't have to write that down. You can just do what I do and underline it, okay? For problem of the day, step two, you write down the important information. But if it's right in front of you, just circle the important information. That can really help you figure out what the question means. Speaking of which, what's the important information in this question? Paulina?
48 feet by 56 feet.
Yeah, it measures 48 feet by 56 feet, and?
It sells for $565 per square foot.
$565 per square foot. Okay, now before we even plug in any numbers or do any calculations, how many steps will there be in this problem? Show me with your fingers. How many steps, like how many math equations are you going to have to solve? Some of us are saying 2, some of us are saying 3, some of us are saying 5. Okay, Kazu, can you explain to me, what's the first thing you're going to have to do to figure out this problem? Without doing any math, what's the first thing you'll have to do?
You can, okay, so you're supposed to you're supposed to, you can round the numbers.
Why do I need to round the numbers?
So you can get an estimate.
Okay, I see what you're saying. But yes, we can estimate first, but I'm asking, like, what's the first thing we're going to have to figure out? Like, do I need to figure out the cost first, or how many square feet it is first, or what's the first thing I'm going to have to figure out?
You're supposed to find the number of square feet.
So I'm going to have to find the area of the office, or how many square feet it is, right? Okay, once I know how many square feet the office is, what's the next thing I'll need to do? Shivani? If I find out how many square feet there are, what can I do with that number? Yeah, so I can find the cost, because I know 1 square foot is $565, so I multiply the number of square feet there are by the cost of $565. So how many steps are there in this problem? 2. So hopefully in that problem, I want you to see that if you know the different steps, you just take it one step at a time. So today, because you know that these problems will all have more than one step, before we do any math, we're going to figure out what those different steps will be, okay? So go ahead and read this problem now and see if you can write down step 1, what the question's asking, and number 2, the important information. So the question's asking us to figure out how many stickers Jeffrey has left. What important information do we need in order to figure that out? Lucas? He has 203 sheets, okay. Each sheet has a dozen stickers. He gave away 907. Okay. Okay, for this problem, what's the first step? What's the first thing you're going to need to figure out? Samarth?
How many stickers Jeffrey has?
How many stickers? Okay. Did he start? You mean how many stickers he started with?
No, how many stickers he buys.
Oh, how many stickers he bought. Okay. What's the second thing you'll have to figure out? After he gives them away, once you know how many he starts with, you know how many he gave away, so then you have to figure out how many does he have left, right? Okay, go ahead and do those 2 steps. what math equation are we going to use to figure out how many stickers he bought for step 1? How can we figure out how many stickers he bought? Tarun?
You can do 203 times 12.
We know he bought 203 sheets, and each sheet has a dozen. For those of you who are new to English, I want you to write down that a dozen is equal to 12, because that's a word that you will come up with. You'll see lots of times. By doing the multiplication for step 1, you can see that Jeffrey started with 2,436 stickers. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. For step 2, if he started with 2,436 stickers and he gave away 907 of them, so he got rid of these ones because he gave these away to family and friends, isn't this what he has left?
Yeah.
So what math equation could you do to find out how much does he have left? Paulina?
2,436 minus 907.
Very good. Okay. So again, by going through the 2 steps, we can find out the final answer, and don't forget to label your answer. If you don't know how to label your answer, like what the unit should be, you just go back and read the problem. The problem says how many stickers does Jeffrey have remaining, so we know that the answer should be in stickers. Again, there's 2 steps. What is the first step that we have to figure out? Raj?
How much money did Ada?
We have to first figure out how much Ada saved every what? Good. Okay, and then what's step 2? What's step 2 then? Once we know how much Ada saved every month, Joseph, what do we have to figure out? Very good. Then we have to figure out how much Ada saved in 3.5 years. How are we going to figure out how much Ada saves every month? Well, we know that Bao saved 179 per month, and Ada saved how much more than that?
145.
So to figure out how much Ada saved altogether, we have to add 179 and 145. Once we do that, how can we figure out how much she saved in 3.5 years? Well, how many months are there in 3.5 years? It's kind of like a mini step, right? We have to do 3.5 times 12, because we know that there are 12 months in 1 year. So almost there's 3 steps, aren't there? This is like step 1.5, right? Right? Do you guys agree? Okay. And then, so what is, let's figure that out really quick. What's 12 times 3? Okay. What's 12 times, what's half of a year?
6 months.
6 months. So how many months are there in 3.5 years?
42.
Okay, good. So then once we know that how much Ada saved every month, and we know she's saving for 42 months, how can we find out how much she saved altogether? We take this amount and we multiply it by 42. The important thing I want you guys to see is before you start plugging in any numbers, before you do any equations, you have to have an overview. You have to understand overall, what are the steps you need to solve? Because a lot of times, if you don't do that, you just jump right in and just try to do stuff with numbers, you're going to end up in the wrong place. You won't end up solving the question. Does that make sense? So I hope you see for the past 3 problems, before we even did anything with numbers, we talked about what are the different steps and the different parts you'll have to figure out.